Hi, welcome to this special report looking at how to find out if you're having a nodal inversion or a nodal return and what that actually even means. I'm so glad to have you with me as we explore this very interesting topic. This is a very rare window of opportunity that comes to us pretty much once every 9 years. We get either a nodal inversion or we get a nodal return. We go a full roughly 18 years before we get to repeat the cycles. So I want to explore a little bit of the background of the nodes and what they actually mean. Some of you might understand this already and have explored this already, but hopefully I'll have a bit of new information to help you along your journey of knowledge of astrology. I'm going to read you a quote from the work of Daniel Giamario. He writes, "The North Node is not good and the South Node is not bad." In some cultures, just as an aside, in some astrological cultures, they do have that connotation of, the South Node is bad, the North Node is good. But Daniel writes, and I agree with him, that neither is good or bad. Rather, if we look at it as a time track, the good-bad problem is solved. In shamanic astrology, the nodes represent a 26,000-year time track. Each human being has a personal 26,000-year time track that also relates to the collective 26,000-year time track. For those who aren't aware, the 26,000 year, or roughly, he's sort of rounded it off there, that correlates to what's known as the Platonic Great Year. There's a number of videos on this. I'll put a link, hopefully I remember to put a link in the description to this video if you want to know more about this 26,000 year time track. But the idea is that our souls are on a 26,000 year evolutionary journey through many, many reincarnations and many, many lifetimes. And the nodes are the representation of that 26,000 year cycle that we're currently on as individual souls. The 26,000 year cycle is the longest cycle perceivable by human senses. And if we are near the end of the 26,000 year time track, then we are very close to the destination point of that time track and very far away from the origination point. So it might pay, like I said, check out the idea behind this great year cycle, and hopefully that will help make a bit more sense. But basically, like I said, we are on a karmic journey of reincarnation that's a 26,000 year soul journey. So of course, in the shamanic astrology school, but also in almost every other astrology school, evolutionary astrology, Hindu astrology, Western astrology, the nodes represent where you have been karmically and where you are going in terms of destiny. So the South Node, that's what it's represented by, sort of an upside down U shape. The South Node of the moon represents what you've experienced in past lives according to the Vedic system and some other systems of astrology as well, but we'll just use the Vedic as an illustration for now. And in shamanic astrology, it represents what's comfortable to us. It represents what we have achieved well in a past lifetime, the skills we can draw on to support us in this journey, the thumbs up, the A+ that we got in a past life, what we learned in evolutionary astrology. It represents the wounds that we perhaps suffered in past lives. Where were the difficulties and challenges that we have overcome and grown out of in past incarnations. It also represents, as I said, the skills and abilities we've developed in a past incarnation, but also where we go for our comfort, where we go for our soothing when the shit hits the fan in this current lifetime. We will default back to what we know, which is represented by the South Node placement. The North Node, on the other hand, represented by the N shape rather than the U, the N shape here, it represents what we're rising up into, what is unfamiliar, what is new, what is to be embraced in this lifetime and like a baby learning to walk. I often use this analogy. The North Node is like the bubby. It's crawling around the floor and it doesn't know how to walk, but it knows it wants to walk like mum and dad, so it pulls itself up on a chair or a furniture, takes a few wobbly steps and then plops onto its bottom because its legs aren't strong enough yet. It hasn't mastered this idea of walking with a brand new energy, something that's unfamiliar. But it doesn't give up. It's insatiable. It keeps on trying. It will fall down, get back up, fall down, get back up many, many times until eventually the baby will master the idea of walking. Its legs get strong enough. It's solid in what it's doing and knows how to do this thing. It gels. It's like, aha, walking, got it. and away it goes. Look out, world, here I come. The baby is now a toddler and it's walking. And the North Node functions in a very similar way. We don't know what we're doing with it, but we keep trying, we keep practicing. We might fall down and get back up many times as we're learning, but eventually we are going to learn to walk with this brand new energy and what it represents. Now, obviously for everybody in their natal chart, these placements are going to be different for everybody. They sit opposite one another always exactly opposite one another, but the placement where they fall, the sign polarities that they fall in are going to be different for everyone, and the house placement they fall in are going to be different for everyone. Everyone's got a different journey that they're on and a different energy that they're trying to grow into and master. And once you throw in all the planetary placements and how they interact with this nodal axis, it can get very complex. But in a nutshell, that is how the nodes work. Where we've been, where we're going. Simple as that. Now, in Hindu astrology, these nodes are considered to carry as much importance to a person's chart as the planets Jupiter and Saturn do, the two interpersonal planets, Jupiter and Saturn, the social planets. And the nodes are considered to be just as influential as Jupiter and Saturn. In Hindu astrology, it's represented by the mythology of a dragon. You may have heard this before, but the North Node represents the head of the dragon and the South Node represents the tail. When this dragon is cut in half, and there's a whole big mythology around this story, but essentially the dragon is cut in half, so the head has no tail, the tail has no head. The North Node with just a head is insatiable. It wants more, eat, yum, yum, yum. I can't get enough. That's the nature of the North Node, wherever it sits in your chart. You will want more. You will be insatiable. Like a baby learning how to walk is insatiable about mastering a skill, so too will you be insatiable and hungry for more experiences correlating to your North Node placement. But also, the South Node placement represents where you need to let something go, because what happens at the tail end of anything? We excrete, we release, we let it go, we poo it all out. South Node energy is to let go of, to dissolve away. And so that is what we see with the South Node, and that's the mythology of a dragon cut in half. So that's the mythology, the dragon cut in half. In astronomy, basically what we're looking at here is the place where the sun's ecliptic crosses the moon's ecliptic and they intersect, boom. And this is moving backwards through the horoscope all the time. And the planets are moving this way and the nodes are moving this way. So they're moving backwards. But this intersection of the sun and the moon's trajectory, ecliptics, are where we see these mathematical points in the sky. They're not visible points. You can't look out the window and see them. They are mathematically there. Now, the house placements of the nodes are actually more important than the sign placements, because the nodes are in a sign or a sign series. In this case, they're currently in Sagittarius and Gemini as I'm recording this video, but they're in this placement for 18 months, roughly, at a time. And so it's very generational. Everyone born within 18 months of one another is bound to have this same nodal placement. But where the differentiation comes is what rising sign you have. You know, for someone with Taurus rising, then the current nodal placement, if Taurus is your rising sign, the current nodal placement is going to see the nodes in the 2nd and the 8th house. But if you happen to be born with Virgo as your rising sign, well, the nodal placement is going to be more like the 10th to the 4th house. And that will have an entirely different set of influences on you as a person. So house placement is always more important with the nodes than the signs. Now the sun, which is, as we've just described, part of what causes this nodal axis. The sun's ecliptic is predictable. It's linear. The earth just goes around and around and around the sun. It stays the same all the time. Year in, year out, trajectory around the sun. Predictable. And it carries this energy of masculinity to it, you know, without trying to sort of create too much differentiation between the genders. Men tend to be a bit more level. Women are much more responsive and receptive to the tones of the moon and the cycles of the month. So this is where we're getting the difference. The sun, the masculine, is a bit more linear, a bit more predictable. The moon, on the other hand, runs on a roughly 18.5 year cycle. you will not see the moon rise in exactly the same spot until 18 years later. So wherever the moon was rising at the moment you were born, it will not rise in exactly the same spot for 18 years. And that's because the moon is less, it's still cyclical, definitely, but it has less of a linear approach, and it's much more, in that sense, feminine, because it's cyclical on a more larger term scale. And of course, we know women tend to align their cycles with the cycles of the moon each month. Let me try and give you an explanation of how the moon differentiates. Here's a saucepan lid. You might like to try this at home because it's going to be kind of hard for me to show it here. But you're probably all aware that when you drop a saucepan lid like this onto a flat surface, the saucepan lid will spin in this manner until eventually it comes to a stop. That's how the moon operates. Let's imagine that this is the plane that the Earth is on, and here is the moon spinning around, let's say that's the Earth, spinning around and around and around the Earth in this manner. Sometimes dipping below the plane of the Earth, sometimes sitting above it. But that is the cycle, like a spinning saucepan lid, that the moon moves around the Earth in, which is why it's not linear. Just doesn't go round and round in a circle. It goes up and it goes down, and it goes up and it goes down, and up and around. And that is an 18-year cycle of up and around until it returns to exactly the same spot, and then it starts the cycle all over again. So the sun, just to reiterate this, the sun and its ecliptic plane is flat and predictable masculine. The moon's ecliptic plane is variable. It is flowing, it is feminine, it is changeable. Moving above the sun's plane, the relationship of the Earth to the sun, moving above and below it in this 18.5 year cycle. And the 2 points in this 18.5 year saucepan lid cycle that I've just described, where the moon crosses the ecliptic, create the north and the south node. Let's try an explanation again. I want to make this clear. So here, this is the flat plane of the trajectory of the Earth around the sun's ecliptic. And obviously, where this ecliptic is crossing here is one node, and crossing here is another node. So I hope that makes sense. Now, as for eclipses, we get eclipses whenever we have the sun and moon in the two luminaries in their cycle around the chart, whenever they line up with the current placement of the nodes. That's what causes eclipses. Let me show you. When we have the sun, not the moon, the sun and the moon together with a node like that in the sky, we get an eclipse. In this case, we are getting a solar eclipse. Then, usually 2 weeks later, we'll have the sun and the moon lining up with another node that then creates a lunar eclipse, where the the Earth's shadow, because the Earth is seen in the middle here, the Earth's shadow is throwing itself onto the moon, eclipsing the moon. So when the moon is together, basically a new moon, it's a solar eclipse. The moon blocks out the light of the sun when it links up with this ecliptic node. And when it's a full moon, we get a lunar eclipse when the Earth's shadow is blocking out the moon's light at its full stage. So that happens when these two luminaries line up with their ecliptic mathematical points in the sky. So eclipses occur roughly every 6 months, and in most years we have 4 eclipses. So you'll get a single, say we've just in the year just gone, we had an eclipse in June, and then an eclipse 2 weeks later in July. So usually that's what happens, a full moon eclipse and a new moon eclipse every 6 months that occurs. Now, some years, like the year that I'm recording this video, 2020, we get 6 or 7 eclipses in a year, and 7's kind of the most you can have, but these are always exceptional years that denote major turning points for the collective. And what have we seen in 2020? Major turning point in collective consciousness. It's quite exciting, quite scary, quite fascinating to observe actually as well. But that's when, just to try and explain this, we get the eclipses occurring sort of at a far trajectory out here, sort of within an orb of roughly 18 degrees. You wouldn't want to go any further than that. There's an eclipse caused when the sun or the moon or together both are here, and then a second eclipse in a cycle here, and then a third eclipse here, and that can create, you do that twice in a year, that creates 6 eclipses all up. 1, 2, 3, and then a second time around, 1, 2, 3, when that happens. But as I said, that's more rare. That creates exceptional years of change in dynamic for collective consciousness. Usually it's just 4 eclipses in two eclipse seasons for the year. So now that we've established a bit about eclipses and we've established a bit about what the nodes are and how they function, what does it actually mean when we have a nodal return? Let's start with that topic. To understand if you're having a nodal return, you'll need to know your natal chart. I'm going to use my nodal placements as an example because this year I happen to be having a nodal inversion, and it's kind of like the nodal return. So I'll use it to explain. Let's say that your nodes are here. One node there, another node here opposite it. Every 18.5 years, we experience a nodal return. That's what we're going to look at first, a nodal return. And this is when the north and south nodes of the moon, remember we're looking at this one as the north node, that one at the south node, when they return to their original spot that they were when you were born. Basically, the moon will be rising in exactly the same spot as it did when you were born. The nodes have returned, the nodes of the moon have returned to their natal position. That is a nodal return. So, let's say you were born with the north node here in the sign of Gemini. Well, this year, when let's say it's at 18 degrees, just for an example. When this current transiting north node moves to 18 degrees, boom, that's a nodal return for you. As I said, this happens every 18 years. So everybody in a cyclical nature will get a nodal return at age 18.5 to 19 years of age. Then we have another nodal return at 37 to 38 years of age. A third nodal return 56 to 57 years of age, another nodal return at 74 to 76 years of age, and if we live long enough we will have a fifth nodal return as well. But we get to experience this exciting phenomena regularly, cyclically, every 18.5 to 19 years in our life. And what does it mean for us when we have this phenomena occur? Well, in shamanic astrology, it is known as a window of opportunity that opens up for us. Now, a chance to align with our original life dreams. That's in quotation marks. A chance to align with our original life dreams. That's what a nodal return does, and it's so exciting. This is a very, very special time in our lives when absolutely amazing things can happen for us. Things we've only ever dreamed about, you know? I'm not talking Tats Lotto wins. I'm talking about the chance to achieve what we've always wanted. Opportunities of a lifetime present themselves completely, to all extents and purposes, that seem out of the blue. Things that are perfectly synchronistically timed, dreams coming true. It's a wonderful time. Now, Daniel Giamario suggests that at this time, it's a helpful thing to do to question ourselves and ask, you know, if our dreams were to manifest, what would that look like? Now, like I said, Tats Lotto wins, luxury sports cars, owning a Caribbean island, these kinds of things are not really what we're looking at here. We want to keep things realistic. You know, maybe you've always dreamed of owning your own cafe. Maybe you've had an aspiration to have a self-sufficient farm. Maybe you've always wanted to have a child, you know, whatever it looks like, that is your, let's keep it realistic, aspirational dream. These can manifest under a nodal return. It's like the window of opportunity opens up and says, are you ready? Do you really want it? Here it is. It's very exciting. So you could ask yourself now, if you're experiencing a nodal return, if your dream was to manifest, what would it look like in terms of a job that you've always wanted, or a dream partner, or a travel opportunity, or a transformation of your home, renovation of your home, up-leveling of spiritual gifts in some way? What is your dream? Know what that is. That's very, very important to know what your dream that you want to manifest is at the time of a nodal return. We'll talk about that in a minute. If you know what it is, you may just get the chance to see it come true under this window of opportunity that's opening for you. In order to have it manifest, though, two things must be present. Firstly, you must know what it is that you want. It's no point looking for that window of opportunity to open if you have no idea what you've always dreamed of, if you've just sort of been farting around, floating along, no concept whatsoever of what you want your life to look like. The first thing you've got to have is a dream to manifest. You've got to know what it is you want. The second thing is that you must be ready for it to arrive by having your tools together. So, it might be all very well. You might think, I want to be America's Next Top Model. But all you do all day is sit in front of the couch eating McDonald's and chocolate, and you're just not in the condition to be America's Next Top Model. Or maybe you want to be release an album, but you've never sung in front of a crowd in your life. So you've got this aspiration, this dream. Hey, I want to be a singer, and you know how to sing in front of the hairbrush and the mirror, but put yourself out there in a crowd, and you're like, well, voice just shrivels up to nothing because you haven't been practicing. You haven't been getting your tools together. Maybe your dream is to meet your soulmate, but you haven't been sort of working on your self-love, or you haven't been developing your sense of inner confidence and inner self-worth and self-value, and the opportunity for the soulmate just, passes you by because you haven't done the inner work necessary to be ready for that ideal man or woman that you're dreaming of, Maybe you've always wanted to have a business of your own, but you've been too scared to take the leap and, take a risk and set it up. Then, when the window of opportunity opens, it says, sorry, you haven't got your tools together. You haven't taken the step. You haven't sort of established had a crack. You haven't done, maybe you haven't been to uni and got the skills that you need. Maybe you haven't looked after your body, so you can't be America's Next Top Model. Maybe you haven't done the inner soul work to be ready for a soulmate connection. Maybe whatever it is, if you haven't done the work, then the opportunity passes you by. It's there, but your tools aren't together and you miss it. So just to reiterate again, how do we make the most of a nodal return? A, we have to know what it is we want. What's our dream? What's our aspiration? And B, what are we doing to make it a reality in our life? Are our tools together? Are we working towards this? Are we embracing this idea, this dream, as the best way we possibly can, so that the universe can step in and go, here's your dream job. Here's your dream partner. Here's the chance to be America's Next Top Model. Here is your opportunity to establish the business you've always wanted to, and to see it soar and fly. If we have prepared, if we have done the work, then the blessing comes to us if our tools are together. At the time of the nodal return, if we know what we want and we're prepared for it, then we can manifest great things. With ease too, because the nodal return allows these things to land in our lap, the job opportunity of a lifetime. Like I said, the dream partner, the dream house, the self-sufficient farm, whatever it is, here it is. There's your opportunity. Take it, says the universe. It's a fabulous thing, the nodal return, if we are ready for it. Keep in mind that we have more than one nodal return as life goes on, as I described earlier. So the first one's at sort of roughly 18 years of age, second one in our mid-30s, and so on. And each time we're going to get a greater opportunity to manifest because we've been working more and more and more towards that dream throughout that time. For me, my last nodal return was at 37, and that's when I fully embraced astrology. I'd been studying on the side for years, sort of getting immersed in it, but I really became obsessed. I really threw myself into it around the age of 37, and I had been praying for a mentor because I was very alone in my pursuit of astrology. Nobody where I live is into it. No one, they're all surface level looking at, astrology memes, and that's their level of intellect about astrology. And certainly just finding somebody who could teach me something of greater substance and depth was really, really hard. And lo and behold, in came into my life a number of mentors and gurus at age 37 to take me deeper, because I had my tools together in that I wanted astrology to be my life, and I had my desire. I knew what I wanted, and I was looking for this support and this answer, and certainly hungering for more knowledge. And that knowledge came in through some mentors, some gurus, some people who provided that source of inspiration for me. What's gone on since that nodal return, that opportunity to study, to go deep, to learn and grow more knowledge, that was my dream. What's happened since then is I've been able to establish my business and now run an astrology information hub through my website and my Patreon page here. That has become the reality for me as a result of that nodal return, that opportunity to study and go deep as I longed to do at the time of my nodal return. Now I'm coming up to my nodal inversion this year. What's a nodal inversion and how is it different to a nodal return? Well, I've just described how a nodal return works, where the north node goes back to the same point that it was when we were born. It returns to the same place. But what is a nodal inversion? Excuse my little lack of an eraser here. I'll just use my finger. That is when the nodes return, or the nodes connect up with their opposite point, because they're always polarically opposite one another. So in a nodal inversion, we would be looking at this point, the Gemini point here, being the south node. Let's say it's also at 18 degrees. So here is the south node of the moon in someone's natal chart. And along comes the transiting north node, and it crosses the south node in the natal chart. So we're having a meetup of the north node transiting with the south node natal, and the opposite up here. This will be, let's write it up here. I want to be as clear as possible. North node, excuse my bad writing, at 18 degrees. And this is the south node going and connecting up with the natal north node. So we've got an inversion, a reverse, essentially, to what's in the natal chart happening. Now, this is just like the nodal return. It gives the same effect. It happens also every 18.5 years that we have a nodal inversion. So it happens roughly at firstly age 9, and then it happens at 28, 46 and a half, 65, and then 83 and a half, that we have the inversion of the nodes occurring. Again, opportunities present themselves. And again, we can grasp these. This window opens in life. Here's your chance. Are you going to take it? Again, the opportunity presents itself. We ask ourselves, do we know what we want? And have we got what it takes to receive it? Are we prepared have we got our tools together? What's the difference then? The difference is that with the nodal inversion, these opportunities come with a sense of, I've got to push through, I've got to overcome. There is resistance there. There's an anxiousness, a tenseness, like, shit, we might be scared of achieving our dreams. We might be sort of having to overcome self-sabotaging of our dreams. We might be having to overcome criticism, develop a thick skin. There is a challenge that is present with the nodal inversion that feels tough, that feels like it has to be overcome before we experience the opportunity that is presenting itself to us. And sometimes this can just be a psychological obstacle. Like I said, self-sabotaging is an obstacle that needs to be overcome for a lot of people. And once we do that, at the time of the nodal inversion, you know what? I feel the fear. I'm going to do it anyway. I want that new business opportunity and I'm scared to death, but I'm diving in. I don't care. This is my one opportunity. Nodal inversion, I'm doing it. And we dive in and it's bloody scary, but we have a crack. And the results, the window of opportunity opens, boom, away we go. Our tools are together. We know what we want. We're bloody scared, but it works. That's how the nodal inversion works. There's a tenseness there underlying everything, underlying these opportunities and changes. With the nodal return, that just lands in our lap. That's just like, here, have an opportunity. And you're like, gee, thanks, universe. Awesome. There's no tension. There's no frustrated kind of like, nothing to overcome. It just comes our way. That's the difference. So nodal inversion comes with a need to break away from something, a tension, a need to let something go. Remember, we're looking at south node connecting with north node here. We're looking at past attitudes, beliefs, behaviors having to be let go of so that we can rise into our destiny. That's why the nodal inversion is more tense. We're combining the south node energy with the north node energy, the past and the future, meeting up together. One thing has to be let go of, dissolved, released, pushed through so that the new blessing, the new north node, the new energy can manifest. That's the difference. So, how old are you? What are you coming up to? Are you coming up to your nodal return? Are you coming up to your nodal inversion? Is it a couple of years away yet? Remember, every 9 years we have one or the other of these cycles playing out for us. So it happens quite regularly where we get opportunities come our way. What are we building now that's going to take us towards our next nodal return, nodal inversion? It's worth thinking about. How am I moving towards this opportunity that I know is coming for me in the years ahead? If you're like me and coming up to a particularly interesting inversion or return, what is going on in your external world right now that you are experiencing that might be giving you some blinkers, some signs, some indicators? Here's an opportunity. Here's the chance of your lifetime. Here's what you've been waiting for. What do you see in your field that is there waiting, ready to just bring you to a place of blessing? Sometimes if we're more highly attuned, more sensitive, energetically types of people, spiritual people particularly, we can actually feel these things coming. We can sense them about to arrive on our doorstep. And it's very exciting if we are in that frame of mind, that space. It's very thrilling. If that's who you are, if that's what you're experiencing, celebrate it, live it, enjoy it. Give thanks for this beautiful opportunity that the universe is bringing you, and get ready for the magic that's about to unfold. It's an exciting time. So that's what it means to have a nodal inversion or a nodal return in a nutshell. I hope this gives you a lot of excitement around this phenomenon. I know it fills me with a great deal of excitement to see it occur, see how it unfolds. It's also very exciting to look back at life and see what unfolded for us in previous nodal oppositions and nodal inversions and nodal returns. And look at, well, where did we make the most of the chance? Or where did we let something slip through our fingers? Let's learn lessons from our past so that in the future we can grab the opportunities and make the most of our life when it comes to us. Thanks for joining me for this video. It is such a delight to share astrological knowledge with you. I hope this video has been a blessing. Do leave a comment. And if you want to request any particular information about any astrological idea or concept, then do leave a comment. Let me know, because I'm always ever curious to see how I can serve my patrons better in providing the astrological knowledge that they're seeking. Thanks for joining me. I'll have another video for you next week. I'll catch you then.